Russian oil giant Rosneft is probably feeling pretty pleased with itself following its $55 billion swoop on TNK-BP, which will make it the world's biggest listed crude producer. But have they overlooked a major downside of the deal? With me now to discuss this story is Reuters Breakingviews assistant editor Robert Cole.
Hi.
Robert, thanks so much for joining us. Essentially, this deal will mean less competition.
I mean, that's the point, and a very simple one that we're making today. You know, a lot of the talk about this deal has come clearly from London and from the West, saying, is it a good deal for BP? What does BP do next? What are the terms and so on? What we're trying to do here is try and put the focus perhaps a little bit on Rosneft, and let's say, what's Rosneft's, how's that company going to perform in future, and how does this deal play on that? And critically, of course, there's great relevance for BP investors, which because BP, of course, will own about a 20% stake. So we don't want to just see Rosneft we can't let ourselves see Rosneft sort of float off into the sunset. We have to look at what kind of company Rosneft will be. Sorry, that's a slightly long preamble, but what we're trying to say here is that TNK-BP was a pretty good operator. You know, everyone seems to think that because of all the scandal and the unpleasantness that was surrounding it, that somehow it's some kind of disreputable company. In terms of its operations, it was pretty efficient. BP brought good practices, good operational and exploration practices to that party, and we're wondering here as to whether those skills will be diluted, perhaps out of existence as part of a bigger behemoth, or indeed whether Rosneft will suffer simply because a competitor has been taken out of the picture.
And of course, this begs the question, does this mean that efficiency is no longer such a big priority for Russia?
Well, I think that's what's underlying here. Clearly, if Russia and Russia's state-controlled enterprises do want efficient businesses, and clearly they ought to. The oil industry is enormously important for this country, and I think underpins something like a half of all government revenues. So it ought to make it, ought to want to be as efficient as possible. But yeah, I think one has to ask that question. Do the Russians really want efficient oil-producing companies which can deliver value to shareholders? Or do they want to use the oil industry as some kind of strategic asset?
And of course, if it's not a priority, it would mean a reversal on the government's privatisation push.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, that's been a longer-running theme here, isn't it? That, as Putin is now onto his third or fourth term as a leader here, one of the features of that long-term leadership has been, a relaxation, a privatisation, if you like. But latterly, one gets this feeling that the state is trying to reassert its power, and perhaps this is part of that reassertion.
Right. Thank you very much. Interesting space, and we'll watch that space for our viewers. That's all for now. My thanks to Robert Cole. For more financial insight, watch our US Breakingviews show every day at 12:30 Eastern, 17:30 BST. I'm Angeline Ong, and this is Reuters.